What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. In this video, it's the last day of July, July 31st. We're going to go over just the latest trading camp news. There's a lot happening today on Monday. A lot of things happened over the weekend. So basically, I'm just going to open up one of the news reports and we'll kind of read through it. And I'll let you guys know any fantasy takes, advice that need to go along with it. So let's hang out here for a little bit, maybe a 10, 12-minute video. And hey, if you guys are new to the channel, definitely subscribe. We're almost to 800, so let's hit that in the next day or two, and then on our way to 1,000 next. We'll see what happens. But either way, I have the screen share up here for you guys. And I'm just using NBCSports.com. They have a decent blurb that they put out for all the major important news here. Looks like we just got a backup tight end here for the Lions. Serious knee injury. That's just going to push up Sam Laporta's snaps even higher a little bit. I like Sam Laporta quite a bit. Dalton Reisner, guard, visiting the Vikings. This was the sad news for today. Tim Patrick. I was excited about Tim Patrick last year before he tore his ACL. And today he goes down with a non-contact injury. It sounds like a full tear of his Achilles. And to be honest, like his career might be done. It's really tough. I think he's almost 30 years old. To come back from an ACL and then an Achilles tear, it's probably not happening for Tim Patrick anytime soon. So this is a big deal. And then I don't know if there's going to be another blurb, but Broncos receivers were not done having a bad day. Wide receiver KJ Hamler is stepping away from the team as he's dealing with a heart condition. So brutal day. I mean, Tim Patrick was slated to be the number 3 receiver, starting receiver in the 3 wide receiver sets. My projections, Jerry Jeudy, I gave him a little bit more. I gave Cortland Sutton a little bit more, but those guys were going to be on the field anyways. So the biggest takeaway from this one was rookie wide receiver Marvin Mims now becomes draftable in redraft leagues. We should be drafting him in best balls right now. Luckily for me, I mean, I did have a good amount of Tim Patrick shares in best balls, but I also had just as much Marvin Mims. I was taking both those guys late. So I also like Greg Dulcich too. I bumped his numbers up a little bit. I think I got Jerry Jeudy as like wide receiver 20. Cortland Sutton's like a fringe wide receiver 3. He looks good as like a bench piece for you. And then right now, man, Marvin Mims, he kind of reminds me of like a baby Brandon Cooks. He could be a lot of fun. He's a really good, productive receiver at Oklahoma, and I want to put him on my bench. At the end of your redraft league, if Marvin Mims is still out there to be your wide receiver 6 or 7, take a shot on the rookie. And again, we'll pour one out for Tim Patrick. It's sad. I wanted to see him. It sounded like he was having a really good camp too. It sounded like he was coming back from that ACL pretty good. So unfortunate news for Patrick and for KJ Hamler. We'll keep it moving here. Weird one, Ronald Jones busted for violating the league's performance-enhancing substances. He was competing for the number 2 job behind Tony Pollard, and he actually might have had a little role there because they don't have anybody. After they let Zeke go, you have Malik Davis, Ronald Jones, Deuce Vaughn, Rico Dowdle. So with no Ronald Jones for the first 2 games, I don't know if this pushes anybody up further. Jones is still going to be able to practice and play in the preseason, so we'll see what happens with this. But I am super interested in the running back 2 behind the Cowboys because last year they gave Zeke a ton of carries. Tony Pollard got 100 carries. I think between the 2 of them, they combined for like 431 or something like that. So they can't give all that to Pollard. There might be 100 carries or so for the RB2. My money's on Malik Davis, but we'll watch this RB2 battle here in Dallas. But yeah, Ronald Jones suspended for the first 2 games. Teron Armstead, Deion Jones. There's the KJ Hamler news. Again, he was waived by the Broncos with a non-football illness designation. Hopefully he can heal up and get better and back to the NFL career. More Tim Patrick. Let's see what else we got loaded up here. Dalvin Cook. So the Jets beat writer here, Connor Hughes, says there's no timetable, there's no timeline for the team to sign free agent running back Dalvin Cook. I think if you were on social media on Saturday, we saw that Dalvin Cook was present at the Jets practice. Aaron Rodgers dapped him up, all that good stuff. It feels very likely that Dalvin Cook's going to be a New York Jet. And it still sounds like Breece Hall's like 2, maybe even 3 weeks away from practicing. So the way that I'm viewing this is if my projections have Dalvin Cook to the Jets right now. And I like Dalvin Cook, but the question that I've been asking myself is, will Dalvin Cook, will I want him on my fantasy team come December? Because those are the type of players that I want on my team to win a fantasy championship with. Personally, I don't think so. I still think I want Breece Hall on my teams when it gets to the crunch time in the fantasy playoffs. So I think Dalvin Cook's going to be used heavily early on. And as Breece Hall continues getting stronger with his knee, getting back into the flow of things, we're going to see them kind of, crisscross and Breece Hall kind of becomes the lead back here. So it's a murky situation for fantasy. I do think Dalvin Cook can be a poor man's RB2 to start the year. And we'll see. Hopefully Breece can avoid the pup list to start the season. Still nothing's guaranteed on that, but it looks like Dalvin Cook's going to be the starting running back for the Jets week 1. Von Miller, Tim Patrick news. Zack Moss, this one's interesting. Just everything's fallen apart in Indy. Zack Moss suffered a broken forearm and will undergo surgery. That's going to put him out 4 to 6 weeks. He might be back. They might put him on the PUP list to start the year, which now the PUP list is 4 games, but they can pull you up at any time during those 4 games. So he might miss, week 1, week 2, week 3, maybe even week 4, but he should be back after that. And obviously everything is surrounding Jonathan Taylor there. We know they have JT, who, if he plays week 1, we want Jonathan Taylor on our teams. But Deion Jackson and Evan Hull are the other 2 backs there. My suspicions are they're going to bring a running back in, maybe just to add a guy for the rest of training camp. If Jonathan Taylor's holdout threat is real, they're going to need a starting running back. So I'm looking at guys like Kareem Hunt, maybe even Ezekiel Elliott. You just never know. The Colts will have to sign somebody if Jonathan Taylor threatens to hold out still, or if he can't practice. So we'll monitor this situation. Colts running back is currently in flux. Alvin Kamara. We got it saying that he hopes to meet with Roger Goodell prior to the potential suspension. This has been looming over Kamara the entire summer. If you've been drafting, he's been suppressed pretty far low. And right now he's being drafted like 7th, 8th, sometimes the 9th round, depends on if you're drafting on Yahoo, ESPN, or a best ball site. But right now I'm open to having Alvin Kamara on my fantasy teams because we know he's going to get suspended, whether it's 3, 4, or 6 games, somewhere in that range. You can find a guy to start, while he's suspended, whether it's Dalvin Cook, who I mentioned earlier, whether that is Samaje Perine, for Javonte Williams. You can find Jamal Williams as well. There's guys that complement drafting Alvin Kamara because we know when Kamara is healthy, we want him on our fantasy teams. He's still a good player. I think there's room for him on your team in the 8th round here. So as long as you complement, him with a running back too, that can be your starter for while he's missing games. I think he's a part of our fantasy plans this season. Let's see what else we can dig up here. Marvin Jones is back from the active NFI list. He's going to be the number 2, number 3 receiver for at least the first 6 games while Jameson Williams is suspended. So he's more of a best ball only guy. Anthony Richardson had a procedure on his nose to correct his nasal septum. It's just a small note there, nothing too serious. Let's see what else we got. JSN, man. You got to take a rookie. Like, one of my biggest advice to people playing fantasy football is you got to take a rookie receiver. JSN's the first rookie receiver off the board in most leagues. Pete Carroll saying some really good things. He says, I couldn't imagine him not being part of the mix right away from the beginning. It just comes too easy for him. We're looking for the spots we can put him in, how to move him around, and see how much he can handle. There's nothing that's holding him back. He's hitting it off with Geno Smith really well right now. Dude's going to be on the field there a lot. You got DK and Tyler Lockett, which I like, but JSN's the locked-in number 3 receiver, probably their starting slot receiver. He's starting in 3 wide receiver sets, but we know Seattle likes to run a lot of 2 tight end stuff. But JSN might just force their hand and might make them lean into more 3 wide receiver sets. So you have JSN on the field for maybe 60% of the plays to start the year. But hey, if he's showing that he's playing really well, they might have to lean into that even more. And you have the injury upside of if DK or Lockett, who's over 30 now, one of those 2 guys misses games, we're going to be pushing JSN up our weekly rankings for that game or 2. So there's some hidden upside with him. I know it doesn't feel good clicking him for where he's probably being drafted right now, but he is the definition of when I asked that question earlier, do I want this guy in my team in December for the fantasy playoffs? I think you want JSN on your fantasy team. No idea what's going on with Jonathan Taylor. He denied reports he hurt his back. He was seen at practice today kind of walking gingerly like he had a back injury. So we'll see. The whole Jonathan Taylor thing is murky. I think right now, hopefully you're not drafting your redraft leagues right now. Hopefully you're drafting closer to Labor Day. But if you are, I think I'm hesitant to draft Jonathan Taylor where he's going. I'd rather have Nick Chubb, Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, all those names right now. Keep pushing Jonathan Taylor down the boards. But in best ball leagues, he's probably going to start dipping into the back end of the 3rd round. I might take a pull every now and then if I can get him on my team there. Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker is sidelined from Seahawks practice with a groin injury. And I'm going to read the news on Zach Charbonnet earlier as well. But both Seahawks running backs have been missing practice. It sounds like it's not serious. Let's see here. Pete Carroll's made it sound like Walker could be sidelined a decent amount of time as the team waits for the issue to quiet down. He did hint it was more caution than concern keeping Walker on the shelf. So I'm not overly concerned on Kenneth Walker. I do see him falling in best ball drafts right now, late 5th round pick, sometimes a 6th round pick, which is crazy. So I still like Walker. Hopefully he can get to training camp soon, but for now, this presents a buy the dip opportunity. But while Walker and Charbonnet are out, the other rookie running back, Kenny McIntosh, has been looking pretty good. So remember his name, file it away, because Zach Charbonnet, the projected running back 2 for Seattle, is out indefinitely with a shoulder injury. So I don't like the word out indefinitely at all. We were expecting Charbonnet to be a decent season. He's actually a high pick in best ball leagues, probably like a 9th or 10th round pick right now. So he's going to tumble. But that RB2 spot behind Kenneth Walker is all of a sudden wide open, whether it's Kenny McIntosh or DJ Dallas. We'll see what happens here. But we'll monitor Charbonnet. He's not practicing anytime soon, it sounds like. So keep an eye on that situation. DeAndre Swift, primarily used in the passing game so far. So I want him to be involved as a rusher, but we know that his best asset is his receiving game. So we'll see. The Eagles threw the ball to the running backs, I think the fewest last year, with only like 61 attempts to the running back. I'm assuming that's going to go up. And Swift's he's gonna be their leading pass catcher for the running backs. We just don't know how many targets and receptions he's gonna be getting on the season. And my other question with Swift is how many carries per game is he going to get, and who is the goal line back? Because we know that the Eagles want to run the ball in. Yes, Jalen Hurts is probably their goal line back, but if Swift can carve out some 8 to 12 carries per game and then still have that passing game floor, he can be a nice running back 3. I think he's being drafted too high for me right now, though. There's just too much uncertainty in this Philadelphia backfield, and I just don't know how the roles are going to shake down. But I do know Swift is the passing down back. Another rookie here, tight end Dalton Kincaid, has looked the part. This has been the theme from Buffalo camp all summer so far. He is being put out there right away, and he's working with the ones. He's catching everything. It sounds like he's doing well. He's not a blocking tight end at all. He's a slot tight end, and maybe put him on the end of your bench in redraft league. I still think Dawson Knox is going to be on the field a lot too. So I don't know if we need to draft Dalton Kincaid, but for best balls, sure. Dynasty leagues, though, you're liking what you're seeing. And then it looks like the final note of the day here, Daniel Popper for The Athletic reports Mike Williams is moving around a lot more. So that includes playing in the slot and other inside alignments. Williams played just 13.4% of his snaps in the slot over the last 2 seasons, which rates 3rd lowest among wideouts with at least 100 catches in that time span. So this could be huge. You guys know when you have Mike Williams, he's up and down, but this is going to move his floor a little bit higher. If he's getting a lot more slot opportunities, we know he's a really great outside receiver. He's a big body. He can dominate in the middle of the field. So I'm excited about Mike Williams. He's the thumbnail of this video. I want us to get comfortable drafting Big Mike as our wide receiver 3. So there's some training camp news for you guys. I will probably post a link for this, this feed here in the comments. So check that out with you guys. We'll be back, I think, tomorrow night. We'll take a look at some things, maybe do a live stream, but otherwise we're for sure doing the Wednesday night mock draft. So Tater, my man, good to see you. Hope you have a good rest of your evening. Enjoy. And hey man, fantasy baseball playoffs. I'll see you in the streets. Peace.